This winding sheet was nothing more than a beautiful piece of cambric, which the young girl had bought a fortnight before. During the evening 2 men, engaged for the purpose, had carried Noirtier from Valentine's room into his own, and contrary to all expectation there was no difficulty in withdrawing him from his child. The Abbé Busoni had watched till daylight, and then left without calling any one. D'Avrigny returned about 8 o'clock in the morning. He met Villefort on his way to Noirtier's room, and accompanied him to see how the old man had slept. They found him in the large armchair, which served him for a bed, enjoying a calm, nay, almost a smiling sleep. They both stood in amazement at the door. "See," said d'Avrigny to Villefort, "nature knows how to alleviate the deepest sorrow. No one can say that M. Noirtier did not love his child, and yet he sleeps." "Yes, you are right," replied Villefort, surprised, "he sleeps, indeed. And this is the more strange, since the least contradiction keeps him awake all night." "Grief has stunned him," replied d'Avrigny, and they both returned thoughtfully to the Procureur's study. "See, I have not slept," said Villefort, showing his undisturbed bed. "Grief does not stun me. I have not been in bed for 2 nights, but then look at my desk, see what I have written during these 2 days and nights." "I have filled those papers, and have made out the accusation against the assassin Benedetto." "Oh, work, work, my passion, my joy, my delight, it is for thee to alleviate my sorrows." And he convulsively grasped the hand of d'Avrigny. "Do you require my services now?" asked d'Avrigny. "No," said Villefort, "only return again at 11 o'clock, at 12 the heavens, my poor, poor child." And the Procureur, again becoming a man, lifted up his eyes and groaned. "Shall you be present in the reception room?" "No, I have a cousin who has undertaken this sad office." "I shall work, doctor. When I work I forget everything." And, indeed, no sooner had the doctor left the room, than he was again absorbed in study. On the doorsteps d'Avrigny met the cousin whom Villefort had mentioned, A personage as insignificant in our story as in the world, he occupied one of those beings designed from their birth to make themselves useful to others. He was punctual, dressed in black, with crape around his hat, and presented himself at his cousin's with a face made up for the occasion, and which he could alter as might be required. At 12 o'clock the morning coaches rolled into the paved court, and the Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré was filled with a crowd of idlers, equally pleased to witness the festivities or the mourning of the rich, and who rush with the same avidity to a funeral procession as to the marriage of a duchess. Gradually the reception room filled, and some of our old friends made their appearance. We mean Debray, Chateau Renaud, and Beauchamp, accompanied by all the leading men of the day at the bar, in literature, or the army, for M. de Villefort moved in the first Parisian circles, less owing to his social position than to his personal merit. The cousins standing at the door ushered in the guests, and it was rather a relief to the indifferent to see a person as unmoved as themselves, and who did not exact a mournful face or force tears, as would have been the case with a father, a brother, or a lover. Those who were acquainted soon formed into little groups. One of them was made of Debray, Chateau Renaud, and Beauchamp. "Poor girl," said Debray, like the rest, paying an involuntary tribute to the sad event, "poor girl, so young, so rich, so beautiful." Could you have imagined this scene, Chateau Renaud, when we saw her, at the most 3 weeks ago, about to sign that contract? "Indeed, no," said Chateau Renaud. "Did you know her?" "I spoke to her once or twice at Madame de Mercier's. Among the rest, she appeared to me charming, though rather melancholy." "Where is her stepmother? Do you know?" "She is spending the day with the wife of the worthy gentleman who is receiving us." "Who is he?" "Whom do you mean?" "The gentleman who receives us." "Is he a deputy?" "Oh, no. I am condemned to witness those gentlemen every day," said Beauchamp, "but he is perfectly unknown to me." "Have you mentioned this death in your paper?" "It has been mentioned, but the article is not mine. Indeed, I doubt if it will please M. Villefort, for it says that if 4 successive deaths had happened anywhere else than in the house of the king's attorney, he would have interested himself somewhat more about it." Still, said Chateau Renaud, Dr. d'Avrigny, who attends my mother, declares he is in despair about it. But whom are you seeking, Debray? I am seeking the Count of Monte Cristo, said the young man. I met him on the boulevard, on my way here, said Beauchamp. I think he is about to leave Paris, he was going to his banker. His banker? Danglars is his banker, is he not? Asked Chateau Renaud of Debray. I believe so, replied the secretary with slight uneasiness. But Monte Cristo is not the only one I miss here, I do not see Morel. Morel? Do they know him? Asked Chateau Renaud. I think he has only been introduced to Madame de Villefort. Still, he ought to have been here, said Debray. I wonder what will be talked about tonight. This funeral is the news of the day. But hush, here comes our Minister of Justice, he will feel obliged to make some little speech to the cousin, and the three young men drew near to listen. Beauchamp told the truth when he said that on his way to the funeral he had met Monte Cristo, who was directing his steps towards the Rue de la Chausse d'Antin, to M. Danglars. The banker saw the carriage of the Count enter the courtyard, and advanced to meet him with a sad, though affable smile. Well, said he, extending his hand to Monte Cristo, I suppose you have come to sympathize with me, for indeed misfortune has taken possession of my house. When I perceived you, I was just asking myself whether I had not wished harm towards those poor Morcerfs, which would have justified the proverb of he who wishes misfortunes to happen to others experiences them himself. Well, on my word of honor, I answered, no. I wished no ill to Mercer, he was a little proud, perhaps, for a man who like myself has risen from nothing, but we all have our faults. Do you know, Count, that persons of our time of life, not that you belong to the class, you are still a young man, but as I was saying, persons of our time of life have been very unfortunate this year. For example, look at the puritanical procureur, who has just lost his daughter, and in fact nearly all his family, in so singular a manner, Mercer dishonored and dead, and then myself covered with ridicule through the villainy of Benedetto, besides. Besides what? Asked the Count. Alas, do you not know? What new calamity? My daughter. Mademoiselle Danglars?